Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It's time for our Kansas Sports Hall of Fame Spotlight. And to help us out with that segment, like usual, we bring in the chairman of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. Jeff, appreciate it. So is your seat still warm at KU basketball games? How's that treating you?
Well, it's treating me fine. It's a great seat, almost center court. I'm in the action, and it's fun. It's a good vantage point, I've got to admit.
So what do you do for KU? Explain to people what you've been doing for many years now.
Well, yeah, I am the timeout coordinator. So I'm on headset. I'm connected to the production facilities, whether it's a truck or now they're doing it more remote. But I talk to the producer and the director, and my job is just basically to be the eyes and the ears for them. If anybody's seen a production truck, the inside, there are dozens upon dozens of small monitors, replay monitors, graphic monitors, monitors for every single camera. And so a lot of times the producers don't get a big full view of the game. They're seeing it in pieces. So my job is to help them see what's going on. A lot of times when cameras will leave going down the court, somebody may be injured underneath the basket. So my job is to say, hey, make sure, keep a camera underneath the K-State basket, somebody's hurt, something like that. And my job is to communicate with the officials. So one thing is you rarely miss play. When you go to commercial and you come back, they're just ready to start. You hear the horns blow. And that's because of my communication with the officials. So that's in a nutshell. I try to make it seem as technical and hard as possible, but anybody can do it. I've been doing it quite a while. It actually started when I worked at the Big 8 conference and we had the television package. Interestingly enough, Bobby Knight, when he was in Indiana, complained about Big Monday being in the Eastern time zone and too late for them. So the Big 8 said, we'll take it. And that was the start of the Big 8's Big Monday, and it's been going on. So I do it for the Big 12 tournament, and I'll do it for the NCAA tournament as well. So it's much fun. You get close to the action. You see the communication with the coaches and the officials, and it's quite an experience.
Yeah, good gig to have and a good seat to have and a lot of good games there at Allen Fieldhouse. Jeff Bollig here with us, Kansas Sports Hall of Fame chairman. All right, our Hall of Fame spotlight today, Jeff. I don't know if, especially, some of these guys that had the glory days, if you will, like in the 70s and the 80s, yeah. And you don't maybe necessarily hear about him as much, but this Hall of Fame spotlight, this guy, he was really, really good and had a heck of a career.
Well, you're right. Steve Grogan from Ottawa, the All-American boy, National Honor Society, team captain, MVPs. They won state in basketball and track, and I think he's runner-up as a senior in football. But quite a career at Ottawa, tremendous athlete, and then went on to Kansas State and played for 3 years, started the last 2 years. And it's interesting, as I was researching, and I remember this, but there was quite a run of quarterbacks in the state of Kansas at KU and K-State. So very quickly you look at Kansas had John Hadel and then went to Steve Renko, a three-sport standout, then to Bobby Douglas, and then after that, David James from Bonner Springs. And all those players got drafted. Then you look at K-State. Of course, you had Lynn Dickey from Osawatomie, and then Dennis Morrison. And Dennis was actually, I believe, from California, and he got drafted as well and played in the pros. And then Steve Grogan. So quite a run from the early 60s to the early 70s of great quarterbacks in the state. All those guys got drafted into the pros and played a little. So it was a great time. And Grogan was a tremendous athlete. Ran the ball. He was even a punter, I believe, as well. So just playing for Vince Gibson at Kansas State. They had some solid teams there, and quite a run with Dickey and Grogan and Morrison in that period of time. And was noticed by New England. I believe they probably Boston at the time, the Boston Patriots. But we got drafted and 116th pick overall, 5th round, I believe. And had a great career. He played from 75 to 90, so 15 years with the same team as a quarterback. So that's, to me, that's amazing in itself.
And especially at that time, I mean, looking at some of his highlights, like at that time, there weren't a ton of, I would say, like dual threat quarterbacks. I'm not saying there weren't any, but like, there weren't a bunch of them. And like, right. I feel like Steve Grogan was kind of, one of those, somewhat of a pioneer as far as quarterback style at that time.
Right. I think probably right before him, Bobby Douglas. who was from El Dorado and played at KU and quite a runner, and then Grogan right after him. And Steve became the first New England quarterback to rush for 100 yards. So that was kind of a feather in his cap. But you'll remember Steve was often injured in his career because he played so hard and took a lot of hits. And perhaps the most well-known was 1985 when they went to the Super Bowl and played that tremendous Chicago Bears team. And Tony Eason was the quarterback at the time, and he got hurt. And then Steve came in and really led them on quite a run and really solidified their playoff berth. And then he got hurt. And then Tony Eason came back in. They both played in the Super Bowl. And Steve had a decent game, but against the Bears, not very many people did. So I think the one thing about Steve is everybody who's old enough to remember, he played with that neck collar after a while because he was hurt. And it was just an interesting contraption to see a quarterback with that neck collar on. But he was injured a significant amount of the time, and so he needed that for protection.
Well, and this kid from Ottawa, Kansas, like not only like, oh yeah, was he on the roster, but you mentioned like he was a big time player, he was a big time starter. I mean, even the records for New England, you talk about Patriots, like third in passing yards for New England, and he's behind a guy named Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe. So like, those are pretty good names that he was right up there with.
Oh, it's amazing when he was drafted. They already had a quarterback by the name of Jim Plunkett, Heisman Trophy winner from Stanford. Heck of a quarterback. Steve unseated him, and really it created the opportunity for Plunkett to be traded to Oakland. And of course, they win a Super Bowl, and he has a great career. But Steve was that good, and they made the decision to replace a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback who was really pretty good. Now New England wasn't great in those times, but they were a solid team, and to do that with Grogan was amazing, and really that team had a K-State flavor. Mac Herron, little bitty running back, probably the predecessor to the Darren Sproles era, but he played on that team. And then Wichita North's Don Calhoun was really an underrated fullback, halfback type, and he played on those teams as well. So quite a K-State influence on those early Patriot teams. About Steve, which I really think is interesting, is he stayed in Boston, in Massachusetts, that area, and lived in a suburb of Boston, Mansfield. And there was a sporting goods store that was for sale, so he decided to buy it. And it was owned by heavyweight boxer Rocky Marciano and his brother Paul. Of course, Rocky was more of a boxer, and of course, he died in a plane crash, undefeated heavyweight boxer. But Steve Grogan bought that and renamed it Grogan Marciano Sporting Goods, and that still exists today.
He's a good businessman, too, along with a football player.
You're right.
Hey, Jeff, appreciate the time.
Great. Thanks, Cole.
That is Jeff Bollig, the chairman of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame.